Three, two, and go.
Hello there, Internet, and welcome back to Geeky Ent. And on this episode, we are going to be discussing Hasbro Pulsecon 2020, what went down during the Pulsecon, and we'll also be discussing pre-order problems of 2020. What we mean by that is exactly what it means, trying to pre-order something and having problems with it. So
And
let's
pulling your hair out in the process.
exactly, and then trying to buy extensions and trying to get to fill in the gaps in your holes and all that stuff when you pulled out your hair. But anyways, that's for another time and place. But Hasbro PulseCon, to put it in simple terms, uh, everybody is aware of the global situation that's been happening over the course of the last year, which in turn led to a lot of large gatherings being canceled and a lot of things went virtual. So in this case, San Diego Comic-Con had everything go virtual, from the Comic-Con exclusives to the presenter panels to everything. But Hasbro does what Hasbro does. They want it to be the big fish in the pond, and they basically held out 2 months later to announce everything, release all their pre-orders. I'm sorry, release all their San Diego Comic Con exclusives,
Exclusives.
release everything that's coming out, unveiling everything that's coming out, and being able to pre-order everything that they announced this past weekend. So there was good and bad to it. So first, let's split it up into there was the convention exclusives being sold earlier in the week of last week, and then there were the unveilings, the reveals of several of their licenses to actually be able to pre-order. Um, I'll go ahead and drop a link down below in terms of what our pre-order problems were when it comes to the case of the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series One X. But let's go ahead and discuss a little bit of the pre-order problems when it comes to the gaming aspect of 2020, and kind of follow up to one of our previous videos, which I'm going to drop a link down below, for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox. Mary, have you had any updates in the last week of trying to procure one of the PS5s or Xboxes? And also, we'll talk about how the Xbox Series One X and S actually went down, I guess you can call it, but it was not as smooth as everybody thought it was going to be. And in my little mind, I laughed, and Microsoft bit their lip, and they couldn't do anything about it because they ran into the same problems, if not worse, than what Sony did. Because there were two different problems when looking at. So, Mary, did you find any? First of all, did you get a PlayStation 5? I guess that's a no.
um, be perfectly honest, and this is me being completely honest. In my opinion, the Xbox pre-order process was actually done a bit better, and that's not saying much, than the PlayStation one. Believe it or not, I mean, I didn't pre-order it for myself. I pre-ordered it for someone else, but I was actually able to get my hands on an Xbox pre-order. Took me about 20 minutes, but I was still able to do so versus waiting in a waiting room for hours for a PlayStation pre-order that I still don't have my hands on.
It's kind of funny how, because usually when it comes to pre-order problems, there are bots out there which basically are quicker than humans to purchase anything online. And Microsoft actually released the time it was being live online, the date, everything. And I heard, in like even in the case of Mary, people actually able to get one, which was pretty crazy. The only problems I heard with the Xbox were that the payment plan options were kind of difficult to get, because only certain uh, retailers were able to offer that, such as I think GameStop and Microsoft. I don't think anybody else was able to offer the payment plan. Um, But I know a couple of my friends actually jumped to the dark side because they were so upset with Sony and how they handled things. They went ahead and just pre-ordered an Xbox, and they went ahead and signed up for the Games Pass, and they actually like it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever makes you happy is what makes you happy, and do what you
Exactly.
got to do. So, but one, I was still not able to get a PlayStation 5. I went ahead and looked at the Xbox. If I was to get one, I would get the Xbox Series S just because it's not 4K compatible. It just looks like uh, a cost-efficient gaming console. But if you have a PC, folks, you don't need a Microsoft Xbox because you can play pretty much anything that Microsoft brings to a PC. But
Exactly.
uh, to close out the update on the game consoles, yeah, there were only GameStop only offered a limited amount. I forget what day it was, but was it
Friday.
Friday the 26th, I believe, 25th of September? They released another 10 a.m. Pacific time, um,
Allegedly.
allegedly Pacific time at 10 a.m. to release more pre-orders for the PS5. Some people were able to get more in, but there were issues when it came to uh, trying to get one. One is that GameStop actually put a fake or a false wall saying that you're in a virtual queue, but you really weren't in a virtual queue. I think it was basically like a bottleneck where they're basically trying to get people into the website, but it wasn't necessarily in line to get a
It
PlayStation
was just to
5.
get into the website.
It was they were trying to filter out people so not everybody was rushing in at once. Um, and also trying to get in through the app or anything, it just wasn't popping up. After about 15 minutes, I just gave up because I didn't really uh, have time or patience for this because over the course of the last few months and this year, I've been dealing with a lot of pre-order problems where I just didn't want to. If it's not going to happen in the first 15 or so minutes, it's not going to happen to purchase what you want. So, um, to close out the gaming consoles, basically, if you didn't pre-order one, the last chance you'll have is to go to the store on launch day and see if you'll be able to get one. As far as numbers go, to follow up on that, each store received, I think it was about 20 consoles, and I heard that there were more physical editions versus digital. So that's a correction on the previous video.
Some
Game
stores only had like 4 from what I read.
the higher volume stores had up to 20, but they had more of an allocation of product for the physical editions because GameStop doesn't make anything on digital copies. So some stores only had up to 4 to 10 max, but then uh, a lot of people are claiming that GameStop management, GameStop leaders, or whatever their designations are, titles are, they were pre-ordering it for
Yep.
themselves, for their friends, and a lot of pre-orders went up on eBay and Mercari and uh, all the other
Yeah.
third-party reselling sites, all pre-orders for the GameStop employees that basically pre-ordered the systems before opening or whatnot and got it before anybody else. So um, I hope that enough inventory comes out in the market so all those pre-orders and scalpers uh, basically sit on those consoles. And that's how I feel about that because scalping it's not cool. I mean, bots take away the fun of trying to go out and get what you want. Um, because it's not just the bots, it's when it comes to certain websites too, like Target.com is notoriously slow. In general, I'm trying to get into the system. So when you actually put items in your cart, you're still not guaranteed that item until you're, officially checked out. So a lot of people lost their PlayStation 5s while in your cart or in their carts. So it's like basically shopping in a store and somebody taking an item out of your cart and paying for it by themselves, like a lot quicker. What else? Um, Amazon uh, silently released it. They had no time point. I think it was in the evening. They went ahead and uh, just
They just went ahead and
released it.
dropped it.
They just dropped it and it sold out because people were watching it and stuff. But that's it. So when it comes to pre-orders, that kind of transition and segues into the Hasbro Pulsecon. So Hasbro is a huge gaming, or not gaming, a toy manufacturer that does develop all your famous like board games. I think they did Monopoly and stuff like that. I don't know. It's Hasbro and Mattel are the two top, uh,
Yeah.
you know, huge toy lines. But they make board games. They do a lot of other stuff. Dungeons and Dragons is a huge license, but Hasbro to start off does have all the licenses for major franchises.
Yeah, and I
And
believe they just recently purchased Death Row Records as well
so there you go.
over
I
the
mean,
last year or two.
so they have money, and Death Row Records is kind of like a weird thing to have a collaboration with Hasbro and toys, but hey, the more the merrier. But the major franchises that they have, you got your Transformers. They recently acquired Ghostbusters over the last year, so they've been releasing movie figures, which is known as their Plasma series. Their old cartoon Kenner figures are being re-released, so they've been doing that. So they have the Ghostbusters line, they have the Power Rangers line. Anything Power Rangers related, they have the right to make anything on it. Magic the Gathering, for all you card players out there, they own Magic the Gathering. Who else? Oh yeah, the biggest one is Star Wars. So any figure
Yeah.
that Star Wars is made is made by Hasbro. So Star Wars, your vintage collection, your Black Series, Star Wars is made by Hasbro, and
Transformers.
Transformers, like I mentioned. But what else did I?
Did you mention GI Joe?
GI Joe is a recent acquisition, and those things are hard to find, and that makes me glad that I'm not a GI Joe fan, because I have never heard people complain more about not being able to get something more so than the GI Joe line. Um, so it's pretty crazy, uh, but last but not least, the biggest one that I kind of forgot, which kind of just jumps over my head, is Marvel. They have the rights to make Marvel figures, and they have a huge successful line of Marvel Legends. And I will be having a video on specific figures in my collection. There's a couple videos here on Geeky Ent where we had a Punisher unboxing from Marvel Legends and a couple other ones. But yeah, Hasbro makes all those. So Hasbro, in the beginning of last week, went ahead and released their comic convention exclusives, which were slated to come out in July, but due to the situation that's globally ruining the world, it got pushed back, and they were able to be procured last week. So that went actually smoothly. There were two launch windows. The first time you're able to actually get some of these exclusives were if you are a Hasbro VIP member, $50 covers you for the whole year. You get free shipping, perks, whatever Amazon offers you, except for the virtual video streaming. Hasbro offers you free shipping for their items for the whole year. So yeah, the first ones were Wednesday of last week, and then Thursday of last week, the general public were able to get the comic convention exclusives. So there were some nice ones. I did spend a little bit of money. Um, the biggest item that was released was the Heroes of Endor Star Wars Black Series set, which had Han Solo, uh, Leia, and I forget the Ewok's name, but here's a picture of what the set looks like, and it was pretty cool. So, Mary, do you have anybody who's interested in the Black Series, or anybody who wanted to get, comic convention exclusives besides myself?
You're probably the biggest person that I know that would have been interested in that set in particular. As far as with Hasbro, most of the other people that I know that will go after their exclusives are mainly going after Magic the Gathering, but as we all know, they did not offer anything Magic the Gathering this go round. So,
Yeah, so that's a rarity that they didn't offer Magic the Gathering last year in San Diego. They did offer. I don't know what they offered. I just know that people really wanted it. I think it was like, I think four legendary cards,
yeah, I believe so.
but nothing from Magic the Gathering was offered this year, and I believe that's because they released or re-released or brought back Hero Quest, which is like a Dungeons and Dragons type adventure role-playing game. Um, but the biggest thing about this experience versus last year is that Hasbro is one of the bigger toy companies out there, which requires you to basically get lucky and be in a lottery system in order to obtain these items. So Mattel, Funko, Hasbro, uh, who else is
Lego.
lottery? Lego is a lottery uh, company, I guess you can call it, a lottery company. That's what I call it. So you basically didn't have the opportunity to get anything from those such companies if you didn't win a time slot to go wait in line at that store. Um, but this year is different. Everybody had the equal chance of getting a Hasbro exclusive. Same thing with Funko this year. Same thing with Mattel. They released their stuff through different websites, through different toy companies like Entertainment Earth. But yeah, it was pretty cool experience. But the one thing that Hasbro did differently is that they did a 2-day panel event where everything was virtual panels. They had time slots, they had special guests, they had everything there. Uh, and they showed off a lot of cool stuff. So basically, if you are in the market for Hasbro, like Star Wars or Marvel figures, I believe it was Friday. Yeah, Friday they released uh, all their upcoming Star Wars and their uh, I'm losing my mind. Their Marvel figures. Saturday they had was their GI Joe panel. They showed off everything, and what's pretty interesting too is that at 2 p.m. Eastern on, or I'm sorry, 5 p.m. Eastern on both of those days, 2 p.m. Pacific, you were able to order whatever they showed for pre-order. And that was pretty cool because a lot of toy companies they don't do that. Usually, even with the video game industry, they'll show a teaser and oh, the game comes out or the item comes out in a year, and pre-orders come out in 6 months from now. So that was one cool thing about it. But what was even cooler, what Hasbro did this year, is that they did a pre-order for a lot of items that even extended over their inventory allocation. So basically, when I was looking at different items, they would have a pre-order releases in October, and then I would check like that same item again throughout the day. It will go back further out from like December and then March, and then eventually sell out. So they were manufacturing these items to where they'd actually be more obtainable for people, even though they're not getting it at what the time they want it, but they're actually guaranteed to get it. So Hasbro was the second company that I know of after NECA, but Hasbro is a much bigger company where they actually catered to the fans and released a lot of their items for pre-order, and that included uh, not their convention exclusives. It was more for their recent additions. I do know that the GI Joe stuff sold out instantly. Um, I'll be honest, those things look pretty cool. But if I was a GI Joe fan, trying to find those things are pretty hard to find. Uh, but yeah, PulseCon felt like a little mini convention, guys. So basically, they had musical guests too. Fall Out Boy closed out the show. They had Tenacious D perform, and they had a music artist Lights perform as well. They had Ernie Hudson, who played Winston in the Ghostbusters movie, show up during the Ghostbusters panel. Um, and that reminds me, that was the only thing I was not able to get was the Ecto One. They're releasing the deluxe
Oh.
vehicle for their Plasma series because they're having Ghostbusters Afterlife come out next year, hopefully. And it was a Target exclusive, and went in, totally forgot about it. It was like around 2:30 in the afternoon, so half hour after they went up, and it was sold out. So I was kind of upset and bummed. But usually Ghostbusters stuff is pretty easy to find when they're in stores. Um, the first things to go were Transformers. Those sold out. Marvel Legends lasted a little bit throughout the day, but now, during the time of this recording, a lot of stuff sold out. So they released Kang the Conqueror, sold out a classic comic version of Falcon, um, but they're sold out on Hasbro Pulse. Uh, so yeah, Mary, did you watch anything from Hasbro Pulse over the weekend or catch up on anything? Or what did you take away from this whole virtual experience that was pretty different than what we're used to?
Personally, I did not get a chance to watch any of the panels due to having personal obligations this weekend. So I really can't give you my opinion on the virtual experience because I didn't experience it myself.
Lame.
But I heard positive things.
No, it was good. And apparently it was live, and it was pretty interesting to see like a lot of the host Jackie, I forget her name, Jackie, I think her name was, but she was having technical difficulties when they were trying to go back and forth. But it was very well done when it comes to the video presentations, to how they had to do it. It seemed like they took the time to make sure it was done right. Because a lot of the panels during Comic Con for that week seemed a little rushed in a way. I don't know if they were pre-recorded or not, but um, it had more of a like an event. This was kind of like a DC fandom event, more of the first time, the first day, not the second day of DC fandom. This one felt like a whole experience where it kind of felt like you were there, but not really. But it just had a better experience than just watching a normal video stream or something. Here's a picture of whatnot. Here's this. So they tried their best to make the best of the situation. Um, so yeah, they just had a whole bunch of announcements, which was pretty cool. Uh, they really heavily focus on uh, their Haslab, and this is going to be the last segment of this video, is their Haslab section of Hasbro, where basically it's like a Kickstarter program, where basically people will go ahead and purchase the item of whatever they're making, but they have to reach a certain amount of backers to, one, fund the project, and two, reach stretch goals to have additional components on this um, project. But uh, the last project that they had was the Sentinel, which I'm going to show you a picture here. So it's a full Marvel Legends full scale Sentinel that looks pretty cool, and it reached and surpassed all the backers. So it reached all three tiers. Pretty badass. This one, they released uh, the Razorcrest from the Mandalorian. It's getting a full scale. It's like 2 feet by like a foot. It's huge for the for the Star Wars Vintage Collection, which are the 3.75 figures. Uh, that thing is $349. So the reason why they do this kind of program is because it's catered only to the diehard collectors. And what's funny is for them to start the project to guarantee that it's actually come into production, they needed 6,000 backers or 6,000 people to fund the project to get it going. And it took them only like 18 hours to get
Impressive.
6,000 people. And they have till like the end of March or November to like before the backing closes. So it's pretty cool how they cater to the fans, the true collectors that they can't have a $350 item go to retail stores and sit on the shelf because one, the retailer's not going to take that kind of hit, especially when it's unprotected. The highest end toys that you see on your Target or Walmart shelves are Lego products. Other than that, uh, everything else that's higher end is in the video game area, uh, or baby care aisle or something like that. But in the toy section, Legos are the most expensive item when it comes to that. But um, Mary, what's your like viewpoint on like one final thoughts on virtual panels, not specifically like Hasbro Pulse, just like in general, like do you like the virtual panels? What do you have to recommend people? Uh, if they haven't seen a virtual panel, what do you have to do um, to get access to this? Or because I know sometimes it's on YouTube, Fandom was on its own website, but um, what's your take? And would you rather go to a panel live, or would you rather stay at home in your own confines and see a virtual panel?
There's something to be said about being able to be comfortable and sit at home and just relax and watch the panel. But nothing takes away from the experience. I mean, let me rephrase that. It's nothing like the experience of actually sitting down live at a panel and feeding off of that energy, your own energy, and just, seeing all of the fans come together and geek out. You have the talent, and you guys are all just bonding. So while I like the aspect of, and I'm thankful really for them still finding a way to bring this to us, especially now, I do prefer the actual in-person panels more.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of in the same boat. Even with sports, like it's not the same watching the sports, hearing the sounds pump through the stereo systems when in the speakers, it's knowing that there's no fans there. Um, Also the excitement and the hype, I guess you can call it. You can't feel that excitement when you have thousands of people uh, cheering and geeking out for the same thing that you have an interest for. Um, so that's probably the biggest thing that I do miss. Other than that, I greatly prefer my recliner over those chairs that they have in the convention center. But missing the people and stuff like that, being in the atmosphere, that is one thing that's the most notably different thing that we do miss. And hopefully soon we will be getting that back once all this global situation and a vaccine is developed, and then after that the strain will evolve and it will be all over again. Same story, different day. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how they can make the best of these situations and still give us the content even though things are not what they should be. So um, yeah, I mean, if you guys have not experienced how it is to like even being at a movie on opening night, and take Star Wars for example, seeing the Star Wars logo show up and then the opening crawl, or watching a Marvel movie and seeing those Marvel pages flip in the beginning and then the whole crowd going wild. Um,
Yeah.
that's one thing that's like what we're talking about. So you don't have to know exactly like a convention style, but like having that feeling of being there. Other than that, it's you're still getting the same info. It's just not the same. And then also like taking pictures, like being in the same room as some of your favorite celebrities of movies or different developments and stuff like that, or actually taking pictures of a screen, even though
Mhm.
it's going to be a clear resolution online and later in the day. It's a different atmosphere, different style, but it's still you're still getting the same information. But if I had to choose, I'd still take the in-person panels just because it's
Yeah.
more of the experience. Even though sometimes if you can't hear what the person said because of cheering, that's just the one repercussion of being somewhere live. But um, yeah, if you guys have any thoughts on that, go ahead and drop a comment below and tell us your experience on how you uh, view virtual panels versus being on a live panel. If you guys like this video, go ahead and click that like button. If you guys want to get notified on when Geeky Ent has a new video release, go ahead and click that notification bell. Until then, my friends, please subscribe to Geeky Ent, tell your friends about us, and don't forget to subscribe. And also, don't forget to geek out. Until then,
Until next time.
until next time, my friends. Bye.
Bye.